my channel. Today I am with Stella Tu, who is a makeup artist with a lot of the collaborations that I do with beauty photography. So we've worked together quite a bit in the last probably year or so nearly, I'd say 6 months to a year. So I thought it would be an interesting video today to show you guys a little bit behind Stella's background with makeup and talk to her a little bit what she likes to see in a collaboration and how she likes to collaborate with photographers, because I thought you guys might find that a little bit more interesting than me just asking questions and maybe relaying it later. It's Stella's first time on camera today, yes, I think, so yeah, she's a little bit nervous, but it's fine. So we're going to start off with the first question. How long have you been doing makeup for?
It's a bit like, it's a long story, sort of. So I started my course 10 years ago. But I didn't really get into makeup straight away. I did makeup, but like I work in retail counter and stuff like that.
Yes.
And that's probably the place that I built my skill the most, because you always face like different people and stuff like that. Professionally, freelancing probably 5 years ago. I started with Bridal actually, and I only started doing more fashion stuff last year.
Yeah.
And I just really like it.
Do you find a lot of makeup artists do that? They start off with bridal or event sort of makeup and then move into fashion a little bit later on? Or?
I think so.
Yeah.
The people I have met during this journey, I think a lot of people started with like event makeup and then going to bridal and then fashion. Yeah. But like there's some people that is the other way around, that they do more fashion and want to get into bridal more.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So,
So my next question is, you do hair as well as makeup. Do you think that's an advantage for photographers with collaborations that you do with them on a regular basis?
Yes, definitely. And I only started doing hair also last year when I started doing fashion, because I feel like it's necessarily sort of to not only organize collaboration, but also with a lot of commercial jobs, they would require you to do at least simple hair. Yeah. So it's definitely, I think it's the must.
Yeah, it's something that I've noticed actually. A lot of e-commerce places especially would prefer to hire one person over two people to do
unless it's
job.
like big campaign, they might have two people, but it's normally just one person. My
next question is, are you selective with TFP, which is trade for print, trade for CD, a lot of different terms used to describe that. But basically for test shoots, are you selective these days, and when did you start becoming more selective, if so?
Yes, I'm definitely becoming more selective, but when I sort of first started, I sort of just want to work with anyone. But of course I have to like their photo first, but or like their face first, but is that okay to say? Like, I'm so forward.
No, it's perfect. No, it's I think it's the same for photographers, for makeup artists, for models. Like everyone is looking, I guess, for that certain thing that they want in their portfolio. And
then I think at the start you definitely want to do that because you want to build the connection with the industry people or the people that wants to get into the industry. But sort of when you, over time, when you have that like enough for portfolio, you sort of want to be more selective. I think.
I think everyone reaches that point where they get to and they realize that to get their portfolio really pushing forward and to take it to the next level, they need to be more selective about how they're working with them.
So I definitely feel sometimes a little bit intimidated by the people that it's more established, as in like photographer or stylist or anyone else. But I think it's a really good way of pushing yourself to work harder or like be more creative.
Because once you do that, like you do have that really good feeling about like, oh, I did it, you know, and I didn't like fail or anything. It was a good experience, and you've built up your contact base even more. And what are the main differences between beauty makeup and location makeup? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that don't realize that there is actually a really big difference between doing makeup for beauty versus doing makeup for a fashion shoot.
It's definitely different in terms of, I feel like with beauty you have to be really detailed. Like for example, when we were doing the beauty shoot, with lashes, I have to like get the model to look down and keep looking up, or look down, look up, to check the location of the lash, like the placement of the lash. But with fashion, you sort of don't have to do that.
No, yeah.
And then also like depends on what kind of, there's like studio fashion as well as location fashion, and I find like with studio fashion, you can't do too much on the makeup because it's more focusing on the clothing.
Yes.
And also not too glowy.
Yeah.
That's what I realized as well, because it can come across shiny. This is more like e-com.
Yes.
And then with location, like camping and stuff, I feel like you can go a little bit heavier, but again, not too focus on makeup.
Yes. Yeah.
But with beauty, focus on makeup, but like more. Yeah, you just have to be more detailed.
Yes,
I think. Yeah, because it's close up and it's safe. The retouching job for the photographer as well.
Yes.
When you do a collaboration, especially, or jobs, you don't want them to work too much on your makeup.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and that's one thing I always say on my channel is like when you're doing the retouching, you have to not go too far to the point where you're completely changing the makeup, because that's not what it's about. Like you need to just edit just to refine it a little bit more. And do you find particularly with because I think this is one thing that a lot of people struggle with, is with skin, particularly with beauty, it's such a big focus a lot of the time, and a lot of people tend to do quite a full coverage look for people who are just starting out with beauty. What are your thoughts on full coverage?
So I think especially with beauty, or maybe like in any photo shoot actually, it's actually better to do less, because you want the the person to look like they have good skin, not they look like they have a lot of makeup.
Yes, that makes sense.
That makes
definitely.
sense. So definitely, I think I would always start with light and then just conceal wherever I need to conceal. Yeah,
that's really good to know, because as well, like I find when you do the foundation, it really shows up in a really nice glow as well, because you don't do too much, which is really good. But when there's a full coverage look, it's very hard for me to get that kind of glow with the lighting, especially with beauty. I do find that that's really a big struggle. So.
And I always think that like any photographer I work with, I always ask them feedback about the makeup.
Yes.
Maybe some photographer, they're not very into makeup, so they probably won't know the detail, but I think it's always good to ask them feedback so you can, improve next time, either location or beauty.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Okay, and so my other part of that question was, what is the difference, do you think, between fashion and beauty makeup, overall, very generalized here, and bridal/event makeup? Because there's also a really big difference between those two things too.
Definitely big difference. Like first, with bridal and events, it's all about longevity, lasting, not necessarily heavy, but like you have to work the makeup or the skin, but still lasts for the whole day or night. But I feel like with fashion or beauty, it's not that it doesn't have to last, but because you're gonna be there to touch up and stuff. So it's definitely lighter, less than more.
Whereas bridals, I guess it's a bit more like airbrush sometimes. People like that kind of.
Because with looks, it really depends on the person.
Yes.
But I think it's always a little bit more than fashion.
Yeah.
Because I feel like photo enhance the makeup a lot.
Yes.
It's really weird, like back in makeup school, when the teacher used to teach us, they always say that in photography, because of the lighting, it bounces. So like, for example, you have to put more contouring, highlighting and stuff. It's actually not true.
No, not necessarily.
To be honest.
Yeah, because like a very contoured look is not necessarily what everyone's after anyway. So and it doesn't. It depends on the lighting too. Cause if you've got like the right lighting for that situation, it doesn't necessarily mean more is going to be better.
Yeah, and I do find that as well. Like, it's actually the opposite with events and bridal. It's actually more. But like with beauty or like fashion, it's actually less. in terms of like contouring and stuff like that.
Yeah, there you go. So next question is, where do you get your inspiration for beauty makeup?
Instagram and Pinterest.
Yeah.
Like I love looking at other people's work. I feel like for all the makeup artists out there, they're not my competitor. They're my friends and my inspiration.
That's really
no
nice.
matter how big they are or how like small they are, I think you can always learn something from other people.
Yes.
So
definitely.
looking a lot of photos, other people's work really helped me as well.
Yeah.
And there's Pinterest, like if you, for example, if I have this idea that I want to do, I would just like Google or like search it on Pinterest and stuff, and then look at heaps of inspiration so I can come up with my own.
Yeah, that's really good. And what do agencies generally want to see in terms of makeup? So I'm talking about modelling agencies specifically for test shoots, and there's usually a bit of a standard there.
Definitely a standard. They always want to have, for example, for beauty, they always want something that's quite natural, because it really shows off the model's feature and everything. In terms of fashion, I feel like they would really also like natural, to be honest.
Yeah, that's pretty much always what I get in the email.
It's natural,
so,
basically, to answer your question.
Yeah. So just to let you guys know, we actually had to go and drop the model off from the shoot today at the train station. So the lighting has changed, and that's why that's happened, if you guys are wondering why. But getting on to our next question, how do you think a good collaboration should happen between creatives? So whether it's a photographer, a hairstylist, a stylist, how do you think that should go?
I think a good collaboration, for example, let's say for example, if the photographer have idea and everyone agrees to do it, I feel like he should be the one, like, of course everyone have to sort of have some input as well, but I feel like the person that comes up with the idea also should control situation as well. Like,
I
be the main
agree
person.
with that.
Control the situation. But then like if for example it's a group of people discussing what to do, then definitely everyone should have some input as well.
Yes, yeah.
But it's not like, but you also want to help with the person as well, so look for people, look for models, look for other creative as well. Just trying to help out, I guess. Does that make sense?
It does. No,
Should
it
I
does.
rephrase it?
No, I think that makes perfect sense to me, because I think especially the part where you were saying about if someone contacts you with an idea and they want you on board for it, that they should potentially have a bit of control over the shoot, or take on that responsibility a little bit more, since it is something that they're approaching you about, instead of like just letting you organise the entire shoot or something.
It turns out, because it actually happened to me the other day. Not the other day. Not the other day, actually. Rephrase. Because it actually happened to me a while ago with this shoot that this person, I'm not gonna say who, but this person wanted to do a certain look, look for creative. We got there and she sort of like, whatever, you know, and then the photo turns out not the way that she wanted, because other people
had to take that
responsibility, which she ended up having to reshoot. So like I think that's very important, but it's not like you just let them do everything. You still gotta help, but in terms of ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I think there's actually a lot of discrepancies, or like people get very confused about approaching other people in a creative team for a collaboration, and they're not really sure whose responsibility it is to organise certain things, or whether the ideas should come from a certain person. So I think this is a really important thing to talk about, because people don't really, I think when you're starting out you don't know, and you sort of learn it as you go along, and you find out that sometimes certain ways work better than others. But what are your thoughts on kind of approaching someone? Say if a photographer was to approach you for a shoot, how would you basically like to be approached?
Like I think definitely if anyone approaches anyone, they should come up with idea first.
Yes.
And then see if the person is interested.
Yeah.
In doing that sort of look. Unless they say no.
Yes.
To the idea, then you can say, "Oh, let me come up with some," which happens to me actually
before.
It
happens. Yeah.
People actually don't like the idea that I present to them, but you know, you can always come up with another and then try it again. I guess.
No, that's true. And it's really hard because I think a lot of the time when people approach you, they don't really see necessarily what's going on behind the scenes with everyone else's career as well. So say a photographer was to approach you and you've already approached maybe another 2 or 3 photographers in the meantime with ideas that you're sort of working along, and then if that photographer that has approached you doesn't have an idea, or you've accepted to work with them and then the responsibility of planning a shoot falls back on you, it's really hard to keep taking that on all the time. I think it's more of just like a slight level of professionalism in a sense, to have some sort of an idea before you approach someone.
You have to take initiative to organize things if you want to look for someone to help you to finish these creative things that you have in mind. You definitely have to be in control in the situation. Definitely you can't let the responsibility falls back to the other person, because
definitely
they're not going to work with you.
And I think exactly.
That's what happened to me.
I think it's really difficult as well when you're not really sure who to work with, or you've already sort of got a good team that you work with on a regular basis, and even if you're getting approached by like say 20 models or 20 other photographers each week as a makeup artist, it's really difficult because you can't say yes necessarily to every single one of them. So you need to find out somehow or some way of how you want to go about collaborating with them if you do. And I think a really good starting point is for that photographer maybe to just give you an idea or take that little bit extra initiative to say, yeah, I really want to work with you. I think it'd be great if we worked on this look. And that's also going to give you an idea of whether you want to necessarily work with them on that or not. You can basically say, no, that's not really my thing, or I can or if you have another idea in mind, maybe we can look at that instead. But it's just something to go off initially.
And I think a good collaboration also includes, like, for example, your idea has to fit what the model looks like.
Definitely.
As well, that's really important. Or the style of photography that the photographer can shoot or willing to shoot is very important as well.
Yeah, there's a whole matching process that goes in. And
it has to all ties in together.
Yes.
I think. It's not only, like, when I first started, I always think that, it's all about the photographer. And then, like, I had a time where I was like, it's all about the photographer and the model. But it's actually not, it's about the whole team. It's really about the whole team.
And definitely on a collaboration. And I think what a lot of people maybe don't realize with makeup as well is not only is it your time on the day, but it's actually product. It's costing you to be there. And using the product all the time as well, you want to make sure that you're getting something worthwhile out of the end of the shoot. And that also means not sending photos through. This is for photographers, not sending photos through 6 months later on, because I feel like that's
I have actually had that experience that I never got photo back from photographer.
It happens all too often. I hear of it all the time, and it's really sad. And what are your top beauty tips or top tips for people who are looking at doing beauty photography or getting into beauty makeup, that sort of thing?
I think it's about building it up. Always start with natural, and then you can always build up your creative or the more makeup that you wanted to do after the natural. And also models. I don't know, models are very important, I think.
Oh, definitely.
I'm not saying like ugly or stuff like that. I mean, like, the right model for the right look. Like, for example, some model might not look good with like very colorful makeup. Stuff like that.
Things like where the lids might not be almost wide enough to have like a very detailed makeup look to do the lid. So for someone like me or like anyone else with hooded eyes, it can be a little bit harder to do. They can do like more edgy, dark edgy kind of look. And then people have wider
eyelid.
It's so true. Like there's so many things.
Yeah,
there's so many things to look at
like that. Yeah, picking models. Yeah, and then using the right product.
Yes.
I think is important on, especially you're doing like close-up shots. Like for example, the shoot that we just did before. At the start, we wanted to do more like a skincare kind of vibe beauty shoots.
Yes.
Then you can't use too much highlighter, powder highlighter, or even liquid.
Yes.
You know, because you want the photo to look like she has no makeup on. So then you would use oil.
Yes.
You know, stuff like that.
That's actually a really good tip. I think a lot of people will just pick someone who's really conventionally pretty for a beauty shoot and then realize that maybe they're not the right model and they don't know why, or they'll get a certain model and they don't know why they're not the right model, but they know something's not quite right with the photos that they got. It's not what they wanted. So sometimes it's actually working with the makeup artist, I think, on picking the model, because they're looking at something different, you're looking at something different, and you've got to be able to mesh those two things together.
And you always, like, as a makeup artist, I know this is, people might say that this is the photographer's work, but I feel like as a makeup artist or any creative, you don't want to look at your work only, you want to look at the whole photo. That's very important. Like,
definitely
you got to think of backdrop and stuff like that as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
What color you're gonna match, or what are you gonna do, or the mood of the photo that you want to present.
Yeah, like half the time there's so much crossover between, like, I think when we're talking about certain shoots, like Stella will have input on the backdrop color and what's going to match in with the makeup, even some of the lighting sometimes. You know, I always check with her and say, is this the kind of glow that you want with the skin? And it's kind of like really making sure that that meshes well, because at the end of the day, on collaborations right now, it's really just us. It's us two, so we have to both make sure that what we're getting out of it is what we want. So my next question is actually a really important one, and it's one that I think a lot of people do have when they're just starting out. So what advice would you give to photographers specifically who are just starting out and they're really quite nervous about approaching a creative team or approaching a makeup artist to do a collaboration with?
I would say don't be nervous. Because I feel like there's always chance if you ask, but there's no chance for you if you don't. If you never ask.
Exactly.
Like when I first started doing like makeup and stuff, I really like some of the photographers' work, and I sort of just like have really thick skin. I just message them. You know, this either they're not gonna reply you.
Yes.
Or they will. You know,
that's exactly right.
And if they don't, they still notice you. If they don't want to reply and don't want to do it, but they still notice you. You know?
Like I've done that before too. Like when a makeup artist has contacted me in the past, and maybe I haven't had time, or I haven't particularly seen, I haven't looked at their work and maybe thought that it was something that was going to gel well with beauty or whatever it is. And then I've gone back to them later on and seen that they've like improved tenfold and they've got really cool stuff, and I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, what about doing something together, like a collaboration and that? So I think that's very, very true.
And I also think that you can't take it personal as well.
Yes.
With this industry.
Because
it's not about, you know, they don't like you or anything like that. They just, you know,
it's like a business.
They will work
it's
with
a business
you.
decision.
One
really.
day they will work with you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
very true. And like, rejection is, I think, a huge part of like doing any of this sort of thing, and you do face it on like a weekly basis. Like, for me anyway. Maybe people don't face it on a weekly basis all the time.
I do. Sometimes I get intimidated, but like at the end of the day, you know, it's just a message.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's honestly just showing your initiative,
or
and
email.
you're trying. That's it. And in terms of what advice you would give to photographers about makeup artists in particular, what important advice do you think, or maybe something important that you think that photographers maybe need to know about makeup artists?
I definitely think that a lot of people underestimated the importance of makeup or hair.
Yes.
And I definitely think that it all ties in together. it's always good for a photographer to know a bit about the makeup.
Yes.
Not even makeup, like maybe like styling the clothing and stuff like that, or whatever.
Yeah, because I mean, like that's the vision, isn't it? Like they have to see the vision, and if they don't really know much about makeup or about styling, then it shows. And it's straight in my work in the past when I haven't known much about certain areas of makeup or styling, and then it doesn't look like that editorial photograph that I want it to look like.
Yeah, it's like me when I want to collaborate with someone, I always look at the picture as a whole. I don't look at just makeup, and I feel like photographer should also do that too.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't not only looking at the whole photo, but you're also looking at the detail of the photo.
Because I think sometimes as well when photographers go to a makeup artist or they have an idea, and particularly if it's got a very heavy makeup focus, they might go to Pinterest or Instagram, find some random shot that they really love, send it through to the makeup artist, but they haven't really looked at the shot overall and seen, okay, well, that's the kind of model that I need or want, and that's the kind of makeup artist I should be using. So I think, like, for example, a lot of Kim K, like Kim Kardashian style makeup looks on Instagram are very popular these days, and I've seen it before happening where a lot of photographers will be trying to get into that side of beauty industry and everything, and then they'll want the makeup artist to do a very Kim Kardashian look for a beauty shoot, and if that's like what they're after, then that's totally fine. But if not, it doesn't really mesh well. They're not really looking at the image overall and what's kind of beneath it, I guess.
Yeah, and also I feel like I just thought about something. I feel like when you approach the makeup artist as well with an idea, you also want to specify what kind of mood, because I have actually experienced this before where the photographer sent me this mood board with like really, really heavy makeup. But it's actually the mood that he wants to create as the image in a whole, not necessarily about the makeup. But I'm looking at the makeup. So I'm like, oh, this is so heavy.
And you're like, this isn't gonna suit it.
And then like on the day when we were collaborating and I did the makeup and it's not right. Like that's not what he's after. That was just the mood of the photo that he was after. So that was really important as well.
So the other important thing that we actually both just discussed and we thought that we might mention is that we really feel like it's important in a sense to find those people that you really gel well with and you can work with consistently, and it's good to have
as in sense of style.
And like keeping content going, keeping your skills improving and being able to work with them. But
in the same time, you can't just work with the same person all the time. You have to work with different people so you can improve as well. And you can also have different connections. So for like any people that might be looking at, say, my Instagram and seeing maybe the work that I'm doing with Stella, I don't always work with Stella on a daily basis, and she doesn't always work with me on a daily basis. We each have different teams that we work with, but in terms of like getting those test shoots out and getting those collaborations out and really improving our skills, trying new things, that's kind of where we gel really well, and that's where we tend to really make progress, I think. Some people find that it really does. If they were working, say if we worked together like for 365 days of the year or something, like it would probably stunt. I know. Like I think it would stunt our work, and it would actually stop it from developing, because we wouldn't be, I think business-wise as well, we're not really making other contacts and we're not getting ourselves into the industry, so that's an important factor too. So I wanted to just take a second to thank Stella very much for being on my channel. And if you guys would like me to do more videos with her, please let me know, because I feel like you did really well on camera, and I think we could do a lot. I'm actually really shy, so I'm like
you did
sweating.
So well.
But
but I do think that you've got a lot of knowledge that you can be telling and letting people know about. So maybe this is something that we should do a little bit more of in future. Do more behind the scenes and stuff like that.
Let us know.
Let me know in the comments. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And I'm also going to put Stella's handle somewhere in the screen right now, so you can go follow her on Instagram. And go and follow her work and tell her just how great of a job she's doing, because she's so talented.
Oh, thank you.
And go and give her a follow. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.